This is a subset of a keynote talk that I give. And what I've discovered through trial and error in my life, or probably more accurately through pain and suffering, is that the quality of our life is based on the quality of our relationships. Now just think about that for a second. Most of our success or failure depends on the level and the quality of our relationships. Now, in our lives, we have many sides, but we have two that I want to talk about. We have the professional side. This is our job, career, whatever we're doing. And then we have a personal side, family, friends, marriage, etc. And these two are completely intertwined. And no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to completely disconnect the two. Trust me on this one. I tried for years and I failed miserably, just miserably. When one side of your life is struggling, it will impact the other. It's just a matter of time. Now, we all want the fairy tale ending, right? We all want the big career, happy career, and the happily ever after family life. Now, since that's everybody's goal, why is it so difficult to achieve? Well, one reason is relationships are full of landmines. And forgive me for using that word, but I was in the military and that's the word that I use. All right. What are they? Where are they? And can you identify them before they have an impact on your life, a negative impact on your life? Now, the key question here is, can you find balance? It's harder than you think. These landmines, they're lurking everywhere. And my goal is to help you identify them before they adversely impact your life. So we're going to touch on a few of them. All right. Normally, when I do this for over an hour, we do like 10 or 20, but we're going to just a few. First one I want to look at is repeating the same poor choices. Now, have you ever found yourself making the same mistake over and over again? Or have you ever said, oh, man, why do I always keep doing this? All right. Be honest. We've all been there. Okay, this goes to our mindset. Very often unconscious biases, which Sejal knows more, probably forgotten more about than I can explain. But these biases have developed from our experiences in our environment throughout our life. Now, until we recognize that this is an issue and choose being the operative word, to discover and address the triggers, these patterns are going to continue. They're going to continue over and over again. All right, next one I want to talk about is making time. Let me ask you a question. How often have you said or have you heard, oh, God, if there was just more time? Okay, well, here's a news flash for you. There's never going to be any more time. There's 24 hours in a day. That's it. There will never be more time until you make time. If something matters to you, you will make time. Let me suggest, I would suggest, make time to spend with your spouse, if you're married, with your children, friends, and your families. Do things that are special. Do things that are going to create lasting and positive memories. Let me give you an example. I was a senior high-tech executive for many, many years, and I used to travel extensively, often for a month or more overseas. And when I became a single father, I had custody of my two young daughters, and I had to change. I had to change my career. I had to change my life. I had to be a full-time dad. So I took over a business that was a major hit to my income. And when I was complaining to one of the counselors one day, she said to me, Frank, what you did was you traded the prestige and the power and the money for time. Now use that time to make memories with your daughters. My daughters are both adults now. They have their own families. When we see each other, we talk about the fun things we did together. The week in Rome, the games, the shows, the concerts that we went to, all the times that we went to the ocean. What they never say fondly is, you know, Dad, remember that time you were in Brazil for a month and you put that big deal together? Not a fond memory for my children. So never forget this. Your children, they're not going to remember every event you went to, but they will remember every one that you missed. All right, so many things that requires our time. And where are you spending your time? What are you doing with your time? I recently read that the average person loses 26 days a year due to wasted time. 26 days, that's 1 month. You're wasting 1 month a year doing nothing of value. So what do you spend it? Where you spend your time, no matter what you do or don't do, the time is going to pass. But the memories last forever. Another one I want to touch on is listening to connect. Sage, I touched on this earlier, and so did Eric. William Jennings Bryan said, 2 people in a conversation amounts to 4 people talking. So who are these 4 people? What the speaker said, what the speaker really wanted to say, what the listener heard, what the listener thought they heard. So how many times have you said something that's been misinterpreted? Or you heard something that somebody said, that's not what they meant. Listening, as Sejal said earlier, and Eric, listening, I mean really listening, sends this message. It says, I see you, I hear you, and you matter. Listening creates a connection. Now we have the ability to relate to another person's thoughts and their feelings. Now we have a better chance to strengthen and sustain a relationship. Let me give you an example. I was a military medic near the end of the Vietnam War. And in the military, we always talk about the mission. It's all about the mission. Do you have any veterans here? I know Eric's a veteran, Dennis is a veteran, I'm a veteran. Any other veterans? Well, with all due respect to my veterans here in the audience, that's not completely true. Yes, the mission matters. Yes, the mission's important. However, what really matters is the relationship and the trust that we build with the people involved in the mission. And that comes from listening, from relating, and accepting. Accepting being the key word. We may never understand each other fully, but we can accept each other. Now think about this in your own life. What happens when you don't trust something or someone? Probably one of 5 things is going to happen. You're going to question their motives. You're going to wonder if you're being set up to fail. You're going to look for an escape hatch or a reason to deflect blame if this thing goes south. You're not fully engaged in the relationship or the project. And you're going to hesitate before you take action. Now, if you go back to the military days, when a soldier hesitates from lack of trust or respect, people die. Let's talk about emotions versus intelligence. How many times you heard this one? It's not personal, it's business. Total nonsense. Everything is personal to someone. Dale Carnegie said, when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotion. Now, regardless of what we've been told, and when I came up, I was told this every day, keep your emotions outside the door. Your emotions have no room in the workplace. Okay, again, nonsense. You can't leave your emotions like a backpack outside the door. They're with us all the time. Emotions are the body's way of telling us something's wrong. When an emotional trigger occurs, take a deep breath. Sometimes you have to take 4 or 5, depending on how big the trigger was. Lean into the emotion, and that allows us to reflect and redirect our thoughts, emotions, and our actions. The key point here is reason rarely defeats logic. Excuse me, back up. Reason rarely defeats emotion. Jesus, right? Reason rarely defeats emotion. By taking the time to reflect and redirect, we're eventually going to learn how to respond in a respectful manner and avoid escalating volatile situations. Volatile situations are addressing conflict. So as long as there's more than one person involved in anything, there's going to be conflict. Now, conflict in and of itself, as Eric has mentioned, it's neither good or bad. It's how we choose to react is what makes it good or bad. And for me, there's 2 key elements. There's trust and respect. Respect is like the air we breathe. We breathe it in. No one thinks about the air as long as it's present. But as soon as you take it away, that's all anybody can think about. The instant someone perceives disrespect, trust is broken, and that interaction is no longer about the original purpose. The interaction is now about defending dignity. And when that happens, things start to spiral out of control. How many times have you said or you heard, oh man, I didn't mean that. It was just the heat of the moment. You heard that? Well, the fact is, you did mean it. You just didn't mean it to come out the way that it did. The statement we often say after in the heat of the moment is, you know, I tried to reason with them, but they just won't listen. All right, now think about this. We made a poor choice, which triggered an intensive emotional reaction. And now we want to use reason and logic. Our knee-jerk reaction is normally, usually, does not work out well. So the key, reflect, redirect, and respond. Don't react, respond. Think before you speak. Last one we're going to touch on is say what you mean. Now, your partner, be it personal or professional, they're not mind readers. If you don't say what you think or what you feel, what you want, they're going to draw their own conclusion. More times than not, it's going to be wrong. Been there, done that. Let me give you an example. No man who played a round of golf, and he had scheduled his wife for a spa day, and spa day was going to be a manicure, pedicure, hair, makeup, the whole thing. They planned to meet for dinner that night afterwards. So since they usually go to this restaurant for special events, birthdays, anniversaries, and it was not either, the wife's wondering, okay, what are we doing tonight? What's the event going to be? Husband gets out on the golf course, makes a bet with the other people on his foursome. They put up $200 a piece. With a low score, wins $600. He gets up to the last hole. He's got about a 1 or 2 foot putt to win. So he gets a little cocky. He says, all right, losers, get your money out. He walks up to the ball and he misses the putt. He misses the putt. Friends all burst out laughing, give him the loser sign, start harassing him. Who's the loser now? And this continued in the bar and it continued in the clubhouse afterwards. So the man finally gets to the restaurant, sees his wife, who looks absolutely stunning, but he doesn't engage. He's quiet. She asks him, is something wrong? And he says, no, nothing's wrong, like guys tend to do. But he remains distant throughout the evening. You get home, the wife says again, honey, is there something wrong? And he says, no, nothing's wrong, but he doesn't offer anything else. So they go to bed. The wife, since she's got no input from him, starts to wonder, is he unhappy with me? Did I do something to upset him? Why is he so distant? Is there something wrong at work? Is our relationship in trouble? Is he seeing somebody else? The husband on his side of the bed is thinking, who misses a 1 foot putt? Really, come on. All he had to do to avoid this unpleasant evening was when he got to the restaurant, say to his wife, I'm so upset with myself. I had a 1 foot putt to win $600 and I missed. That's all it would have taken for this to have been a very nice evening for them. Now, at this point, when I'm doing this live, I normally do an audience participation. We don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to streamline it for you. All right. Have you ever seen the TV show Family Feud with Steve Harvey? Steve Harvey, where they interview people. Well, when I wrote my book, I surveyed about 100 men and women, and I asked them various questions. And let me give you 2 scenarios here. Okay, scenario 1. Let's say that the 2 of you are a couple, and you're having a disagreement. The disagreement ends with the man saying, fine. And I'll have 1 man and 1 woman up on stage with me. And I say to the man, what's that mean? What's fine mean? And he gives an answer. Then we ask the other guys in the audience. Okay, the number 1 answer in the survey that I did was the guy, when he says fine, says, okay, I'll work on whatever the problem is. All right. Then ask the woman, what's that mean? Number 1 answer from the women was, I won. All right. Now reverse the situation. Disagreement ends with the woman saying, fine. All right. So I say to the gentleman, what's that mean? And the guy says, well, the number 1 answer was, okay, good, this is finally over. Then we asked the women, what's that mean to you? Right? Number 1 answer from the women was, oh, this is not over. There's more coming. So what do we learn here? Instead of playing word games or playing games or trying to test our partners or our business associates, we can avoid so many relationship traumas by simply saying what we mean. All right, I'm just about out of time here. So let's throw a question out there. What relationship did you have that was very, very positive and why? Or what relationship did you have that was very negative and why?